Hi there, you're at the Litecoin Wyckoff session, and here we're looking at the weekly chart, and then eventually we'll get into the daily to look at the micro actions. So in the weekly, previously it has exhibited some kind of selling pressure once the price hit this top edge of the long-term playground zone, this big white box, and we asked the question, has the price already climaxed? Because that's I would say a bit disappointing for the bullish group, because what happened last time, the price at least went to close to 150. This time the peak price was only 135, so like 10% lower than the last peak back in December 2024. So it really is disappointing if the uptrend has already been over. However, if we look at the cycle itself, in terms of Wyckoff, there may be a chance that if this is really the automatic reaction, then there's a chance that it comes up for a second test. That's where the second peak comes in. Ideally, that's a positive scenario for the bulls. If there are good news, very good news to support, then even an upthrust may be possible. So that's a point higher than the buying climax. But given the candles closed at a level lower than the edge of the white box, the upthrust may as well close around the edge of the top edge of the white box as well. So it's still going to be lower than the peak of the last buying climax back in 2024. If we look at the candles, especially this week, it looks like there is a little bit of support from the yellow dashed line. However, the volume has been declining quite significantly. So there's still half a week to go. If the volume remains same, if we double this volume, we would be at around similar level as last week. So that wouldn't be very alarming, but then it may be signaling the people trying to get in is getting fewer and fewer. If I change it to this, there are multiple views I want to share. One is the usual view I have, or I usually share, is the upward channel. So pretty much look like this. So that's what the price has been doing, bouncing from the bottom to the top edge, find support from the bottom edge, and now we touch the top edge again, and then coming back down to the bottom edge of this upward channel. If the price continues to stay within this upward channel, then eventually it will come to the point to test the white top edge that I already mentioned. If it really happens that way, there are multiple points it has to pass, because currently the price is as a level between these two key levels, 100 and 116. If it continues to trade sideways and stays above this upward trend box, by the time we get to late October, mid-late October, it has to, the price actions or the whales has to let the market know that is it going to continue to follow the uptrend. Because when it gets to here, it either has to break above the green level again, or it's going to break outside of this upward trend and show us a sign of weakness. So that's very key. If it doesn't come down in the next few weeks, by latest near the end of October, this has to happen. So it's around 8 weeks time before that happens, given if the price is trading within this range. If it doesn't, if it falls earlier than expected, then obviously we have to hope for something like that to happen. Back in January this year, it exhibited quite a few weeks of significant drop, and then eventually it climbed just for a second test, not even an upthrust, still staying within the white box, and then eventually it died down to another accumulation cycle. So that may be something that is going to copy this time, just that the upward channel or the accumulation period looks a bit more promising this time than last one, but we never know, because if it's going that quick, maybe the whales doesn't have that much of bullets to do whatever crazy boost this time. Just my rough idea. And then big picture set, let's look at the micro. Here, previously we talked about the price has been coming down from the upthrust. It's still continuing within this downward channel. So the green key level wasn't able to provide support, even though the boost successfully broke above it on the 22nd. Very quickly the bears pushed it down. So whoever FOMO in on the 22nd, maybe they are sitting on some Litecoin already. So if this trend continues, then it's just a matter of time. Well, actually the sign of weakness already happened that we put in last week. Second test, I wouldn't say this is a second test. This is more an OPSY already. So it did not get to a second test level, just showing LPSY. So maybe the next one would be somewhere around here. That's the second LPSY that got rejected from the green key level. So if I change it to line chart, you see what's going on, right? So there is a chance that this really comes down, and that will confirm the second LPSY. That also will potentially show us another sign of weakness. So as long as it stays within this downtrend, then it eventually will hit a bottleneck as well. This bottleneck is earlier than the end of October one I mentioned in the weekly time frame, because when the price continues to trade below the green key level as well as the ceiling of this downward channel, by mid-September, this will come to a decision point whether the price will continue to trade within this downward trend. That means breaking this yellow dashed line support, that's the sign of weakness level back in late July, and continue to trade downwards, even breaking through the bigger upward channel, this light blue box, and test the yellow support level. So the critical factor about this mid-September decision time is that it may trigger a bigger action downwards if it really couldn't find support over here and follows the downward channel. Obviously, the other way it can happen is that it doesn't find support at this dashed line, but then it finds support at this blue level, and then eventually break outside of this downward trend box and forms maybe a new leg upwards like this one, or just to trade a bit sideways and then eventually come back to test the bottom edge support again. So there are multiple ways it can happen, but for now, if it really is following the Wyckoff distribution, the likelihood of it coming down to show us another sign of weakness is larger than the upside. And you can also say, is it going to come up for an upthrust of the distribution if it rebounds? There's certainly a possibility that it comes out, but it needs some sort of good news, much like to some that happened to a particular altcoin just today or like yesterday, depending on the time zone you are in. So really, combining the weekly and the daily, the chance that it comes down and then rebound currently is larger than going straight up. So expect some actions towards the yellow key support at about $100. Obviously, the dash line at 105, so somewhere between 100 and 105, that's the expectation for the remaining of this week, maybe next week as well. If it really rebound, then the first point of challenge or first level of challenge will be 116, and if there are very good news to support, then there's a chance for the daily to go to upthrust of the distribution. That means upthrust potentially in the weekly time frame, or maybe just a second test. Like I said in the very beginning, this white box is showing very strong resistance, the top edge over here. So that's all for Litecoin for today.